Ladies and gentlemen, welcome on in to episode 26 of Fantasy Daily. It is October the 3rd, Sunday, week 4, and I am super geeked up to be here. I'm super stoked. I've been working on a lot of stuff for you guys today, going through all my spreadsheets, getting everything, teasing out the little information that I want, you know what I mean? Because there's a lot of information out there, there's a lot of stats, a lot of stuff that I don't need, a lot of stuff that people use that I don't think is, stats that you need to focus on. So I got the ones that I hyper focus on, got that stuff. I've been on the screens all day, and I finally got my game breakdown show ready for you guys in time for Sunday. So it is Saturday night for me, but hopefully you're listening to this Sunday morning before the games. And if you are, I will be doing another show this morning. I'll be doing some live shows, but also leave it up there where I will be leaving questions. So if you guys want to check out that show before game time at 1 o'clock as well, this one will be in the morning. So you get all Fantasy Daily all morning before the games start. Thanks for joining me, everybody. Let us get right into it because we're going to charge right through the game breakdowns, all the 1 o'clock games, all the 4 o'clock games, and the 8 o'clock game. Monday night's game will be on tomorrow's show. So keep an eye on that. But I will briefly touch upon that as well. So let's get right into it, everybody. 1 o'clock slate. First off, we got Washington at Atlanta. Now, Antonio Gibson is expected to play this game, so that's good news for all the Gibson managers out there. Russell Gage is out. My heart still hurts because I am a Russell Gage fan, and he is not back yet. But could be a lot of points in this game, and I expect this one to be a high, point total. Washington and Atlanta are both bleeding points to the quarterback position, so I like both quarterbacks in this game. Antonio Gibson on the Washington side of the ball, he should be a great play. If you're in a desperate position, I would also start J.D. McKissic in some deeper leagues, maybe some double flex leagues. McKissic's worth a look because I think this could be a 50-50 game for them, and I think that against Atlanta there's enough points to go around for both of them. So Terry McLaurin, definite must start in this one. Taylor Heineke, to me, the quarterback, he has stream appeal if you're desperate. Atlanta defense, like I said, is bleeding points to the quarterback. So as much as we might look at Heineke as kind of one of those deep league streamers, I think he has some high upside this week as far as regular 10, 12-man league. You can put him in your lineup and probably not be too sad about it if you're somebody who drafted Big Ben. I would definitely play Taylor Heineke over Big Ben this week. Logan Thomas, I think he's a great start in this one too against Atlanta. I'm kind of just attacking the matchup on that one. And there's not really many players in Washington that you're high on. I think really Gibson and Logan Thomas and Terry McLaurin are the only ones that I'm really high on. Besides that, you really are only starting McKissic because he's had moments. So like that on the Washington side of the ball. As far as Atlanta, Calvin Ridley, Kyle Pitts, they are must starts, and I'm really hoping that this is the game where they both show up, both get touchdowns in this one. So I wouldn't be surprised if the game, majority goes to them. They really need to show up in this one. Besides that, it might be move on time for me as far as cashing in on the name value for them. So Matt Ryan, he could be a streaming option. I'd rather play Heineke in this matchup than Matt Ryan because Heineke probably has the potential to rush one in, whereas Matt Ryan to me doesn't. And now watch, he'll get a QB sneak from the 1 yard line because I said that. Mike Davis, I would definitely like to sit. Washington's been pretty good against the run, but where I would sit Mike Davis, I'm willing to start Cordarrelle Patterson. I think he's got a lot more versatility in this offense than Mike Davis does, and we can see the splits in Cordarrelle Patterson's game where he gets targets, he gets rushes, they want to get him involved. So I think Cordarrelle Patterson is a good start in this one against Washington, and I think he's going to be used quite a bit. And we might see Mike Davis start to take a backseat to Cordarrelle Patterson if he keeps producing like this. So he's definitely worth a flex start for me this week, and he's worth it for sure in a deep league. You got to start him. Omadai Zacchaeus, he's another sneaky start in this one where I'm really not, trying to start him. But if you're desperate and you're looking at the waiver wire and there's nothing out there, Zacchaeus is 90% sure he's out there because I think he was like 8% roster or something like that. Those are all the dynasty leagues that he's in. Moving on. Houston at Buffalo. Buffalo's been super stingy to basically everything in this game, so I really don't want anybody in Houston except for Brandon Cooks. So I'm willing to roll out Brandon Cooks. I wouldn't be surprised if he has a down game in this one. To me, he's just the rule of necessity. I have to start him. The targets are going to be there, and if he catches 8 of them, that's 8 points for however many yards he gets. So, if he's getting 14 targets in the game, which he might get in this game, I'm willing to do that. Definitely not touching the running backs. Definitely not touching the tight ends. I don't want much in this game from Houston. I really only want Brandon Cooks. Buffalo side of the ball, much different story. Much different story. I think that Buffalo is going to do another beatdown in this game. Josh Allen, Stephon Diggs, must starts. Houston has been actually pretty good against the wide receivers, but it's Josh Allen, so he's going to beat them up. I'd roll out Emmanuel Sanders. Cole Beasley's getting a crazy amount of targets, so I'd start him as well. Dawson Knox, to me, he's worth like kind of a tight end streamer, I think. I think Dawson Knox really has, some under the radar ability, but at the same time, he's going to need to get, I don't want to say he's touchdown or bust. I still think he can get 3 or 4 targets, and maybe put up 10 points on your team, but you're really going to be relying on a touchdown in that one. So he's one of those people that if I'm desperate, I have no other choice, then I'll take a look at Dawson Knox. Because Josh Allen's just Oprah this year. Everyone gets a touchdown. So if you're desperate, banking on the touchdown, I'll go with Dawson Knox and Josh Allen in a good matchup. So streaming tight end there. Detroit at Chicago. Finally got the big news right around, I would say, 7 o'clock tonight. Justin Fields will get the start against Detroit. I think this is a great decision. Give him a chance against a defense that's, playing well. They're playing decent enough for if Justin Fields does well, you can say, okay, this is, we can roll with this. We can roll with this. So if he goes out and he gets beat up like he did last week against Cleveland, against Detroit, if he comes out and gets beat up by Detroit like he did against Cleveland, then we got a much different story going on. But I think this is the good decision. You got a mid-tier defense, middle-of-the-pack defense. Let Justin Fields go in and see what he can do on him. So Detroit side of the ball, I don't want to start Goff in this one. I think it's going to be a lot of running game in this one. So DeAndre Swift to me is an auto start. Jamal Williams, you can if you're desperate. I do not if you're desperate. If he's there and he's more of a flex play, not desperate play. He's more of a flex play. So Jamal Williams, I'm willing to flex in, but I think that the game is going to start shifting towards Swift. Now Dan Campbell said at the beginning of this week, he really likes DeAndre Swift. He needs to get him the ball more. So I think the game's going to really start to move towards Swift, and then sooner or later, it's just going to be the Swift and Hawkinson show. So Jared Goff, I don't want to start. Swift, auto start. Jamal Williams, willing to flex in. Hawkinson's an auto start. And I'm just avoiding the wide receivers here because you don't know who it's going to be. We have no clue. Quentin Cephas, I said last week, and then it was somebody else. So I'm just out on the Detroit wide receiver. It's such a, snafu or whatever you want to call it. It's so up in the air on who it's going to be that I really don't care to go after, any of the wide receivers over in Detroit. Chicago, on this side of the ball, it's tough. I got one thing to say about this, but I'll start by saying I'm willing to start Allen Robinson. Hopefully this is his get-right game, but I am still willing to play him. I don't want the tight ends. I don't want to start Justin Fields, but Detroit has been very, very generous to the running backs. They let up 41 points to Aaron Jones, and without the Aaron Jones game, they're averaging 20 points to give it up to the running backs. So I think this is the last call on David Montgomery. This might be it. If you want David Montgomery on your team and you don't want to pay David Montgomery price, this might be last call. He might go off in this game. So me personally, if I'm one of those people who wants David Montgomery on my team, and I am, I'm making the offers tomorrow morning before the game starts because Detroit has been, bleeding points to the running back position. So if you want to stake your claim now, I think this is the time to do it before he goes off and the price goes up and then everybody thinks they got David Montgomery from last year, which I'm still holding out hope for David Montgomery and Allen Robinson, but I don't think the price gets much lower than it is right now for David Montgomery. So keep that in mind if you're somebody who does like David Montgomery. Moving on, Carolina at Dallas. This is going to be another one of my favorite games. I can't wait to watch this game this week. My two favorite games I can't wait for is Carolina at Dallas and Baltimore at Denver. Those two games I cannot wait for this game. So Carolina, Christian McCaffrey is out. Chuba is getting the start, and I am stoked for the game. Samuel L. Darnold. great, must start. Got to start him in this game against Dallas. Dallas is letting up the most points to quarterbacks and the most passing yards. So, or actually, I don't know if they're letting up the most points to quarterbacks, but I know that they are letting up the most passing yards in the league. So, me personally, yeah, not the most points, but most passing yards allowed is, it's actually Jacksonville right now, but Jacksonville played an extra game. So, Dallas they've let up quite a few points to quarterbacks, and they've let up a ton of points to tight ends and wide receivers. So in this one, Tommy Tremble, the tight end, he's worth a daily fantasy start. If you're feeling lucky and you want to throw him in your lineup, Tommy Tremble's the tight end, by the way, in Carolina. If you want to give him a shot, you can. But DJ Moore for me is an auto start. Robbie Anderson, I'll start him if I have him. But I said it a couple times this week. I think this could be the Terrace Marshall breakout game. I made a couple offers for Terrace Marshall in a couple of my leagues, trying to get him over before the week starts. But I think this could be the actual week where Terrace Marshall really breaks out and he takes over for Robbie Anderson and says Robbie Anderson to the slot. So I hope it is that game for Terrace Marshall. That would be great for fantasy. It'd be great for Carolina. Chuba Hubbard, he's going to get the start. I know a lot of people are high on him. The Dallas defense has been extremely good against the run, and we're probably going to see Royce Freeman in this as well. So as much as I like Chuba, I think this is not the game that I want to play him in, and I'm going to try to look elsewhere. So it's tough for me. I mean, I'd start Chuba over Pollard. I would not start Chuba over Montgomery. I would definitely start Montgomery. I would start Nyheim Hines over Chuba Hubbard. So there's a good example. 2 waiver wire guys this week. I would definitely start Nyheim Hines over Chuba Hubbard. So that's a good example there that I can lead with. So Dallas side of the ball, I'm not sure I want to play Dak in this game just because I'm not sure where it's going to go. And even if Dak does do okay, I don't know. It might be those things where the wide receiver does all the work. So I don't know. I'm not sure. I don't really want to play Dak in this one. I'd rather go somewhere else. Carolina's top 5 in basically everything on defense. So Cooper and CeeDee, though, they're auto starts. Zeke is an auto start to me. I don't want to start Pollard unless I have to. You probably paid for him on the waiver wire, and now he's kind of locked in there. If you need him, I'll have to. And then Dalton Schultz, I think he's a good streamer to look at. I think Dalton Schultz might be needed in this game, and he'll be able to get the targets by being Mr. Necessity. You know, how those people are, where they, those players that, you don't expect them, but then they get 7 targets just because they're the only one that happens to be open. So I think Dalton Schultz is worth a streaming option for me. If you're desperate at tight end, go ahead and take a look at him. And I put Dalton Schultz I put him above like Dawson Knox. I'm trying to think of some other guys at the top of the head, but that's a good example there. Dawson Knox, Austin Hooper. So I put Dalton Schultz on basically the top of my list of my streamers. Moving on, Indianapolis at Miami. Quentin Nelson is out, so that is bad news for the Indianapolis offensive line. But Miami is just absolutely garbage against the run. So therefore, I want to start Taylor and I want to start Hines in this game. I think they both are must starts in this game. So I don't want to start Carson Wentz. I never want to start Carson Wentz. The wide receivers are such a mess that I don't want to start any of them. But if I have to take a chance on Pittman or Pascal, if you're digging, I get it. So if you have to take a chance on one of them, I put them in that order, Pittman, Pascal. But I really only want to start Jonathan Taylor and Nyheim Hines, which I both think are must-starts in this game. On the Miami side of the ball, I think Brissett could have another good game. Tua is obviously out still. I think Brissett could have another good game in this. It could be, a solid streamer. Indy's letting up a lot of points to the wide receivers. They're not really using their running backs, or if they are, they're doing it in, intermittently. This guy gets a couple, this guy gets a couple, so there's no consistency at running back over there. So I think Brissett could have another good game in this, and he could be a solid streamer. I mean, I don't have the guts to put him in my lineup, but if you're feeling froggy, the matchup is there. I'll start Waddle in this one. I want to start Waddle in this one is what I should say. Not I will start. I want to start Jalen Waddle in this one. I don't really want to roll the dice on Will Fuller or Devontae Parker. I still want to see what happens there. Preston Williams is still there, so I want to wait and see on those guys. So we'll wait. Don't want to roll the dice. I'd rather look somewhere else. Mike Gesicki, I think he's a great start in this one. He should easily see 5 targets, 6 targets. And like I said, with the running back backfield, I want no part in that running back backfield in Miami. I am all set with that. Moving on. Cleveland at Minnesota. Now, I think that Baker Mayfield, and as much as it hurts me, Odell Beckham are must starts in this game. So once again, I don't care for Odell Beckham. If you followed me long enough, I don't like Odell Beckham in fantasy at all. I don't hang on to him. I never draft him. I'll never touch him. If he's a part of a trade, I will reject a good trade if Odell Beckham's in it. I don't want him on my team. But with that said, you got to pay attention to the matchups. This is a great matchup. It's a good opportunity for Odell Beckham. And I'd probably hang on to Odell Beckham for the next couple of weeks, and then maybe a week before Jarvis Landry gets back, I'm trading him. I'm not taking the chance with him. I don't want him on my team, and if somebody out there still wants to hang out of the name and hopes that he's going to blow up, sure, let them take the chance. I'm not doing it. So with that being said, Odell Beckham, he can start in this one. Nick Chubb, Kareem Hunt, got to start him. Austin Hooper, I think, is also a sneaky start in this one. I think that Minnesota's been giving up quite a bit of points. I don't think so. I know so. I have it right here. I think Austin Hooper's a sneaky start in this one as well if you're desperate at tight end. Minnesota's tough, man. Against Cleveland, I really want to avoid Kirk this week. He's been okay. He's been steady. But as far as, maybe him throwing an interception or turning the ball over to kill his week, I think that could be likely in this. Cleveland's really beating up offensive line, so they're a great defense, and that's not just counting the Chicago game. Looking at their stats, they've been elite. So I really only want to roll out the elite three in this one. For Minnesota, that's Justin Jefferson, Adam Thielen, Dalvin Cook. So I'm really trying to avoid everything there. If you're desperate and you need to go get and you want to play KJ Osborne, I'm willing to make the argument because on paper, Minnesota has been probably one of the most efficient passing offenses because when you look at passes caught in wide receiver stats, Minnesota really only has 3. Yeah, they have 4. Dede Westbrook is the only other one with one other game, and that's it. And he had 1 catch for 11 yards in that game. So every other team has like 3, 4, 5, 6 wide receivers that have at least caught a pass. Minnesota's super consistent with it just being those 3. So KJ Osborne's definitely worth a look, and he's probably higher up than some of the other people that I put out there, other players out there. I'd rather, if you're looking at the Kadarius Toney, Colin Johnson's, I definitely would rather play KJ Osborne over those 2. Nick Westbrook-Ikeen over KJ Osborne, though. And yeah, so Cleveland's been elite. I really want to avoid everybody but the top 3, but if you want to take a chance on KJ Osborne, the stats are there and the efficiency is there for that offense. Moving on. Giants at New Orleans. Sterling Shepard and Darius Slayton both out. They both avoid IR, which is good. They probably won't play next week, but that could give them a chance to play in week 6. So in response to that, Giants activated John Ross to their roster. Former speedster from Cincinnati. I think he was a first-round pick. Yeah, John Ross, I think it was a first-round pick. Former speedster from Cincinnati. Now on the Giants, they elevate him up. He's going to get in the mix with Kadarius Toney, Kenny Golladay, and Colin Johnson. So, them calling him up kind of shows me that he was just the speed guy and they didn't want to activate him. So my Kadarius Toney and Colin Johnson picks still stay where they are. I don't want any part in John Ross. I do think that Daniel Jones could bounce back in this one against New Orleans, and I want to say that he will, but I would be saying it more if his top 2 guys were there. So I think this is a good chance for Daniel Jones to show that he is a franchise quarterback. If he comes out and has a good game in this one without his top 2 guys, that's great. And I know Kenny Galladay's there. You're like, oh, what about Golladay? He was clearly not one of the top 2 guys for Daniel Jones. So regardless if it's Kenny Golladay and he's a beast, if the quarterback's not getting to him, that's a different story. So without his 2 guys that he trusts most, if he plays well in this game, I'm going to keep, tooting the horn of Daniel Jones because I think he is elite. I think he's going to be playing elite for a little bit while. Fantasy elite. He's fantasy elite. I think he's got rushing ability, touchdown rushing ability, and, he can throw some good passes. So I like Daniel Jones. I hope he bounces back in this game. I would be looking elsewhere, but like I said, if you're a Daniel Jones truther like I am, I think this is a good game for him that he can bounce back. So hang on to him, wait and see. I'm not starting Ingram, starting Saquon for sure. The new rule of necessity for him in this game should be huge. So this could be an also big game for Saquon, and I hope it's finally his homecoming. Let's go. Well, not homecoming, they're in New Orleans, but let's go. Let's have a good game. Finally, let's give him the workload that he needs as Saquon Barkley, a first-round draft pick. New Orleans side of the ball, I don't know. I guess they're playing the Giants, but I still don't really want to play Jameis Winston. The wide receivers over there are all over the place. The tight end, you don't know. I think I think Adam Troutman and New Orleans are like the lowest in tight end usage in the entire league. I think it was something ridiculous, like less than 5 passes thrown to tight end. So don't want any tight ends there. Alvin Kamara is really the only person I want to roll out in this game just because I don't know what's going to happen. So as me personally, I'm avoiding everything I can. If you had a gun to my head and I had to choose somebody, I don't know. I guess I'd choose Deontay Harris. I like Juwan Johnson. He's got wide receiver and tight end capability in any app. So most apps that are, most platforms that you're in, whatever fantasy app you're using, Juwan Johnson can go wide receiver or tight end. So I guess that's kind of cool. But besides that, I really don't want anybody else in that game besides Alvin Kamara. All right, moving on. Tennessee at the Jets. There's not much to talk about in this game. Julio Jones and A.J. Brown are out. Elijah Moore for the Jets is out. So let's talk about this game as much as we can. And the name of the game is Derrick Henry. And if you're playing against Derrick Henry this week, you might want to just look at next week. Because Derrick Henry is going to feast. Without A.J. Brown, Julio Jones, they're playing against the Jets. Derrick Henry's going to destroy. It's so hard for me to believe that Derrick Henry's not going to be the number 1 running back at the end of the week. He's going to play him in all your daily fantasies in the MVP spot because how is he not going to feast in this game for 30 carries or something like that? So Derrick Henry to the moon. I think Nick Westbrook-Ikine is also, obviously they're going to have to throw the ball. So I've been talking about Nick Westbrook-Ikine a lot. I think he's the guy that you're going to want in this game. I'm willing to start Tannehill still. A lot of people were asking me that. Do I start him without those two? I'd really like to pivot. Me personally, I'd pick Teddy Bridgewater over Tannehill this week. So Teddy Bridgewater's probably out there. If he's not, I don't know. I'd rather play Derek Carr over Ryan Tannehill this week. So if you have Tannehill, there's a lot of other people I'd rather play than Tannehill this week without them too. So just because I think it's going to be the Derrick Henry show. So, and that's totally, that's totally within the realm of possibilities that they just keep giving the ball. The Jets won't have any chance to stop it. Anthony Fursker as well for the Titans, the tight end that I talked about a little bit in the offseason. Anthony Fursker is back in this game, so he could be a sneaky start as well. Giants side of the ball, Corey Davis, that is all. So I'm willing to start Corey Davis. That's it. No tight ends. Not starting Zach Wilson, obviously. Don't want one of the 4 running backs over there. I'm all set. Elijah Moore's out, so Jamison Crowder's back, so that's cool. Maybe he'll have a good game. But I'm not going to put it in my lineup. I will put Corey Davis in my lineup, though, so keep that in mind. All right, moving on. Kansas City at Philadelphia. Now, this is where we're talking. This is going to be a good game. I think this has a high over-under. A high point total over. And it's going to be a shootout. I think it's going to be a shootout. I know last week we saw Jalen Hurts, struggle, but Kansas City's got a bad defense. So Patrick Mahomes, Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelce, auto starts, obviously. Clyde Edwards-Helaire, I know I've been down on him. A lot of people have been down on him, but Philadelphia, he's worth a start in this one. The Philadelphia defense has been pretty generous when it comes to rush yards allowed. Let me see where they're ranked. Yeah, they've given up 402 rush yards so far this season. They've given up 72 points to the running backs this season, and that is 12th in the league. So Philadelphia's been kind of generous against the running back. They're, a little bit slightly above, mid-tier pack. So with Clyde Edwards-Helaire maybe catching a couple passes, getting the handoffs, I guess he's worth a start in this one in hopes that he gets going. Because the alternative to Clyde Edwards-Helaire usually on your team isn't anything great. So if you have 2 good options that you hear me talk about and I say, I like these guys, they're an auto start for me, or I like them, then I would start them over Clyde Edwards-Helaire. But there's not a lot of people that I would, there's not a lot of players, there's not a lot of players that I actually this week would start over Clyde just because of the matchup. So I'm trying to dig into my weekly rankings real quick just to see where I have Clyde. Yeah, exactly. So I got Gibson, Taylor, Montgomery, Carson, Najee, Zeke. I have the obvious ones above him. So, below Clyde Edwards-Helaire is Melvin Gordon, Nyheim Hines, Kareem Hunt, Tony Pollard. So, the obvious ones that I would rather play over him. So kind of keep him where, where you think you need him, but at the same time, and if you pay the price for him, you probably don't have a good backup. If you do have a good backup, put him in. Case closed on Clyde Edwards-Helaire for this week. And if you can trade Clyde, trade Clyde. Philly side of the ball. Jalen Hurts is a must start. My guy is going to have a good game in this one, and I'm marking it now. Book it, book it, book it. Jalen Hurts is going to pop off this game, and I cannot wait. I'm so excited. Devontae Smith, I like a lot in this one. Jalen Reagor, I think, is worth a start. Quez Watkins, deeper league, daily fantasy, probably worth that, maybe a touchdown, the 40-yard bomb, something like that. But I do think that Quez Watkins is a lot better. I said it on the show right after the Philly game last week, is that I think Quez Watkins is a lot better than he's being used. He might even take over some Jalen Reagor time, so I like Quez Watkins. I want to see him get involved more. I'll start Goddard in this one. I'm still avoiding Ertz. I feel like he's one of those players where you have to do it a couple more times to convince me. So I'm out on Ertz, and I'm willing to play Dallas Goedert and then watch Ertz do good and go, oh, well. I'm just not trusting Ertz yet until he does it. So if he does it one more time, then I'll come back and I'll be a fan of him. But right now, I'm all set. Miles Sanders in this one, for what you paid for him, you're probably going to start him, and he should be okay. I hope he will be. I feel like, especially after last week when he got beat up, they'll at least give him 15 carries, make him smile. But yeah, I'm willing to roll him out in this one. Seattle at San Francisco. George Kittle being George Kittle. He is out. He is showing up with injuries. He could be out. Russell Wilson in this one. Chris Carson, Tyler Lockett, DK Metcalf. Got to start them all. Gerald Everett went to the IR. Will Dissly is worth a look in deeper leagues if you need him. But that's real deep. I'd rather have Dalton Schultz, Dawson Knox, those guys. San Francisco side of the ball, we got Elijah Mitchell. He's out, so that's a great chance for Sermon to come back. I still don't like running backs. Juszczyk had more than Sermon did last week, so as much as San Francisco is bad against the run, I'm going to roll out Sermon. I'm sorry. As much as Seattle is bad against the run, I'd rather, I'm still willing to roll Sermon out, but with caution. Because Kyle Juszczyk could take a lot from him. Deebo Samuel, Brandon Ayuk, starting both of them. George Kittle possibly being out. They could see a lot of work. Arizona at the Rams. We got Kyler Murray, Nook, and Kirk in this one. Got to start him, I think. You can roll out Rondé Moore as well. I like him, and I wouldn't be surprised if A.J. Green gets quite a bit of work in this one. I'd like to avoid the backs in this one just because of the James Conner vulture, and that's what James Conner is. He's a vulture. That's where his value begins and ends. So I'd like to pivot away from Chase Edmonds if I can. Stafford, I think, is a def start in this one. This could be a huge high point total, so I'd really like to start Stafford in this one if I can. Kupp is a start. Woods is a start. Van Jefferson's worth a look in deeper leagues. Darrell Henderson or Sony Michel, whoever the starter is a must start. However, if Darrell Henderson is in, then I don't want to start Sony. I like Higbee as well as in this one. If you have Tyler Higbee, go ahead and keep rolling out with him. Baltimore at Denver. This is my big game. This is one I'm super, super stoked for. I think Denver's got a chance. Teddy Bridgewater is one of my starts of the week. I think he's super underrated in this match. He's got a chance to give the team a W, and I'll be watching this one super closely. Cortland Sutton, Tim Patrick, Noah Fant, they're must starts for me. Melvin Gordon I will play in this game, but I would be wary of Javonte Williams just because I think there's going to be a lot of wide receiver work in this game, and it won't give Javonte Williams a chance to get the carries that he's been getting. Baltimore side of the ball, it's obvious. Lamar Jackson's an auto start. You're playing Marquise Brown. You're playing Andrews. I'd like to avoid Sammy Watkins, and I am not playing running backs. Not playing running backs. All right, I got 2 more games left. I want to fire these out because I got 1 minute left. Podcast people on Spotify, I'm sorry, you might get caught off at the Tom Brady Tampa Bay New England game, but everybody knows the outcome of that anyway. Pittsburgh at Green Bay. I got Big Ben on the bench. I'm not playing him. Deontay Johnson is back. Claypool is out. So you're playing Deontay Johnson, you're playing Juju, you're playing Najee Harris, and I think that Pat Freiermuth, the tight end for Pittsburgh, is getting worked in more and more. He could be worth a streaming option this week, so keep your eye on him as well. Green Bay, Aaron Rodgers, you're playing him. Devontae Adams, you're playing him. Aaron Jones, you're playing him. I don't want to play Tanyan in this one, actually. I want to look away from Tanyan in this one. And actually, I just don't know. It's difficult for me. It really is difficult for me, but I don't want to play Tanyan. I just want to get Devontae Adams and Aaron Jones in this one. And if I have to choose one of the wide receivers because MVS is out, I'm going to lead Cobb over Lazard, but I'm not happy about it. Tampa Bay at New England. This is the big one. This is the Tom Brady returning home. Everybody's hyping it up. everybody's making a big deal for Mac Jones and the Patriots to lose by 20 at home. So N'Keal Harry's activated. The big news, Gronk suffered 2 hairline fractures to the ribs last week, and he could miss next week too. So Gronk will not be making the trip. He will not be playing in Tampa Bay, and that's super sad. We wanted him to play. Giovanni Bernard is also out in that game. So I don't want anything to do with the Tampa Bay running backs. Yeah, you're going to start Tom Brady. He's going to finish as the quarterback 1 this week probably. Chris Godwin, Mike Evans, Antonio Brown, you start them all. And I don't want any of the running backs. If I had to take a chance on the tight ends, I'd probably lean Howard over Brate. But I still kind of don't want to. That's still kind of just a coin toss for me. I think that's just going to be Godwin, Evans, and AB making it rain all game. New England side of the ball, I don't really want to start anybody, and it's not even just the hype of the matchup. It's just I don't know where the ball's going to go. I don't want running backs in New England. You never want running backs in New England. I feel like a tight end could slip into the end zone in this game because they haven't scored a touchdown yet, so that could just slip in. I like Kendrick Bourne, but they're not using him enough. Jacoby Myers, I just don't think he's that elite of a wide receiver, so he's just target-based and receptions-based, but yeah, I'm not really high on any of those guys in that game for New England. I really only think I'd want to start, Kendrick Bourne and Jacoby Myers if I have to, but even that's gun to my head. I don't feel like it, so. Everybody, thank you so much. My podcast cut off, so everybody on Anchor, if you came over here, thank you for coming over and checking out the end of the show. I apologize that I don't have over a half an hour of allowance. Everybody, get over to Spotify. Follow me. Give me some likes. That way I can go over a half an hour and start doing my full podcast everywhere I can. Start connecting all these dots, getting all this information over to you so we can bring home some more of these, baby. Some more trophies. We need all of these. And we're bringing it home to you here at Fantasy Daily, everybody. Thank you so much for joining me tonight. Make sure to check out my show where I'll be answering questions very soon. If you're watching this Sunday morning, I'll be on soon to answer your questions on TikTok. Make sure you get those questions in. I love you guys. Good luck today. Let's get these W's.